What an eyesore this is. The exterior of the house is horrible. This is an extremely busy street. If we don't make this house look amazing, no one's even going to stop and park the car to come in this house.
No, so it's really, really loud out here. For sure, we're doing so far, new windows.
100% yes. The old school rock, it's got to go.
The problem is once we get rid of this rock, it's a totally different stucco underneath.
Well, the stucco is probably the worst I've ever seen. I mean, why is this ever even a style?
Okay, so here's my thought. We can just re-stucco the entire house with a colored stucco so we don't have to paint and just make it look brand new.
That's a perfect option because I think it'd be impossible to match this horrible texture. And plus, it'd be just better to start from scratch.
Okay, this railing is a hideous eyesore, but at the same time, it's carrying loads to the roof line. So what I think would be best, we can get a price on it, is to do wrought iron out here to match the inside railings.
How much do you think that would run?
About $2,500.
All right, let's move forward. Like how we flow it from the kitchen all over the dining room, it separates the spaces and it makes it feel more open.
Wrought iron.
Looks great. Plus, it took it from being a turn pad.
Okay, I've got a few people logging in. I'm just waiting until everyone kind of gets situated. There was some software you may have had to download, so if that's the case, then welcome. I really wish that everyone could be using the Google Hangouts version of what you're seeing right now. If you're not, then there's a long delay and you can't use the chat. You can't actually see what's going on in the chat room. But yeah, we're just waiting. If you can go ahead and use Google Hangouts, it'd be a lot better for the experience. That way you can interact a little bit more. And so I'm just going to leave this up just so people know that I'm here. And yeah, I see a couple people trying to log in. But yeah, we got a few more minutes before we actually officially get started. Plus, we'll just slow it down for people who are leaving class or just getting home or who couldn't log in right at 6:30. I don't have anyone activated in the chat room yet, so I don't even know if my audio is coming through completely clearly, if I need to turn it up or turn it down. Just go ahead and let me know if I need to do something like that.
And the ones that I have. Most coaches and most players are big fans of
Just logged in.
the Cowboys. On 6:30 start for the league. Seems to be the big when you get it.
Okay, well, you let me know if you can hear me. We can use the chat. And just let me know if you can hear me. I'm not entirely sure I'm coming over clearly, so let's see. Sweet. So good. That's good verification. This is the first time I've tried this, so I have no idea whether it's actually going to work the way I want it to or not. So we'll see how it goes. So we got a couple people who are just looking at the video stream on YouTube, and a few who are in the chat room. Well, there's two of us in the chat room right now, but there are a few people actually just streaming it live on YouTube without being able to use the chat. If you want to, you can switch over to the Google Hangouts version. I've emailed out that link just recently. And again, today we're just going to iron things out and get introduced and hopefully get a baseline established as to what we want to do in upcoming sessions. And so we've limited it to people who've signed up just so that I can control all of these little bugs and try to squish them before next week when we could potentially have a lot more people. I know Dr. Sadiq is trying to push a few of his students from two of his classes directly into this as an extracurricular / semi for credit opportunity. So hopefully that goes over well. Yeah, I can see people are actually looking at it on YouTube. I'm just hoping they'll take the opportunity. If you can hear me, take the opportunity to use the Google Hangout so you can actually interact. One of the things we'll talk about today is whether this is the best platform to do it with. I'm not funded. I'm doing this out of the goodness of my heart. I mean, this is just me. And so all the other paid versions of live streaming programs are awesome, but they're paid. On the free versions, you can only have 10 or sometimes 5 people join your chat. So I know TeamViewer is another one that people use. And we'll see how this one works out. Oh, we may or may not have Jack in the group now. Jack, if you can hear me, just send me a message over there in the chat box. I hope you can see that. Nice. Yeah, for the most part, we won't. I'm thinking in the future we won't have audio going back and forth just because there's so many people. But that chat thing is a great feature. We've got sweet. We got Addison just joined. Again, most people are going to want to mute their microphone and just use a chat feature so you can type questions and have me slow down if necessary. I'm just talking right now so people know that we're here. We've got quite a few people streaming directly through YouTube, so they're not actually in the group chat, but they're just looking. They have a 30-second delay on what's happening right now, so they're not getting the best experience and they can't interact with me. But yeah, if you have questions or anything, just go ahead and shoot them into the chat box, and we'll just give a few more minutes before other people start rolling in. Cool. I'm getting emails from people saying they're looking on YouTube, but they don't have a Gmail account, so they just don't want to create one, which is fine. They just won't be able to ask questions like you guys can. I know there are 2 grad students who are going to join us. They get out of class at 6:35 or 6:40, some strange hour, and then they'll hop into the chat. But today is very much about just getting all these bugs figured out, getting me exposed to the interface, seeing if I can do anything differently, brainstorming a couple other things. I've got a PowerPoint slide that I'm going to bring up just so we can browse through that. But for the most part, this is just going to be really chill. And then next week, I think we'll have a lot more people. Fantastic. Okay, so while we just wait just 2 more minutes, I think what I'm going to do is try sharing my screen to be sure that this works. Share screen, it's going to do something weird, and then I've now got a PowerPoint presentation opened up. I'm going to go full screen for a couple seconds and then just kind of jump around. Could someone just reply to the chat whether they can actually see the slides in full screen or not? I think they work. Just verify that you can actually see and read the content. It's not as important to read the content, it's just I need to be sure it actually shows up. Okay, perfect. Yeah, we're just gonna have it do that mirror effect for a little bit longer. That's pretty cool. Okay, I'm just gonna jump on into it. We've got about 6 people who just are looking at the YouTube link. They can't actually comment or interact with us, but hopefully they're able to change that in the near future. But I'm just gonna hop on in here and get rolling in just a little bit. Let's open up this PowerPoint slide. So welcome, I guess, to the Design Hour. I didn't know what to call it, so I just called it the Design Hour. And I say it's with the Student Advisory Council because that's really the only way I could get permission to do this without someone trying to hijack it. And so we're essentially just going to talk about design. We're going to be able to look at me do things in SolidWorks. You're going to be able to volunteer to help us if you know how to use SolidWorks or do something really cool. I'm going to have people coming in to talk to us about all kinds of different stuff. But mostly I want you to be able to shoot specific questions over to me as to how do you market yourself a lot better, especially since we just had the job fair. I know it comes at a late hour, but moving into next year when you're graduating as seniors, or if you're a junior moving into the senior year, one of the best things I think you can do is just design the heck out of anything and create a pretty sweet design portfolio. So that's what it's all about. There's my contact information. I guess I'll email this out, but everyone knows essentially how to get to me. But I can put these slides online if anyone needs them and for people's future reference. So this is the slide about me. Of course, every time you present, please put a slide about yourself. And if you're trying to get hired, I sneakily put the quotation, like hireable or your next hire or something like that in the description of who I am. But I'm from the Caribbean. I'm actually an OU AME Board of Advisors member because I fought pretty hard to get some programs started and some ended here at OU, and they thought it was cool, and they gave me a spot on the board. I'm on the GSC lead team, the Graduate Student Community Lead Team. I'm the current Student Advisory Council President. And that just really means if any of the teams have trouble or they need to talk to the board or they need to find cool ways to raise funds or they need an independent voice to vote on something, I can be that person. I graduated from OU in 2014, got to graduate again in 2017. I work for Berge Aerospace. I'm a photographer, have been for about 8 years professionally, and I've done graphic design for pretty much in the exact same time, maybe 7, 8 years. And I just call myself a people person. I'm gonna hop back over here and just see if everything's going okay. Seems like everything's going okay. And so that's me. I've done a little cartoon rendering of myself, me with some camera gear, people going crazy over me taking photos at one point. That was a long time ago, 3 years ago. And then a whole bunch of photos that I've taken over there on the side. So today we're going to introduce you to the design hour. And if you need to change, if you think we should change the name, I'm open to suggestions. But it's just going to be about an hour. It could be more, it could be less sometimes. Today is probably going to be less because we're just going through an intro and just being sure that the platform works. But I'm going to show you guys an example portfolio, which is mine, and talk about some of the tools that we can use to create a portfolio like that. That's the big thing for this class, or for this presentation, is being able to do that portfolio. We're going to talk about the platform, so YouTube Live versus something else, versus me sitting in the new computer lab in Felger and just having people physically come there. We're going to talk about time and how to access this and everything else. Then we're going to talk about some of the topics that we can go over, and we can add stuff, we can take stuff away. But I think I've got a comprehensive set of topics that professors don't typically talk about. A lot of them haven't been exposed to the design side or having to look for a job in this way, and having to battle the computer bots and all kinds of stuff that just reject your email, your resume. And so we're going to look at some of that. How we can improve that. We're going to talk about you and how you can become involved, whether at AME or with this program. And I'm going to answer whatever questions you have. I'm going to hop back over to the chat, and hopefully everything is still going okay. Just someone give me a thumbs up, or I'm just double checking here. We've got like 10 people looking at the YouTube link, and hopefully everything's fine on your side of things. Let me see here. Yeah, I really wish those of you who are looking just through YouTube, I really, really wish you could join the Google Hangouts, because then you can actually interact and talk to us and get your questions answered in the future. So if you can figure that out sometime between now and next Thursday or whenever we do this again, that would be great. So let's hop back into my screen share. Blah, blah, blah. Sorry, I talk to myself while I do things. Okay, so that was a quick intro, but here is just a couple other notes. The design hour really stemmed from a conversation I had with Dr. Alton and Dr. Sadiq, and they just wanted to know how could we put our students in a better situation, especially when they go out into the working world. We know you know how to do all the equations and F equal MA, but what do employers really care about? How you write, what you look like on paper, how you publish, how you produce your work. So that's what it's all about. I'm gonna stick to Thursdays at around this time for now. I know I've gotten some feedback on that, and most people are good with Thursdays, and most people are flexible or like the 6:30 hour. If you miss something and you hear around the grapevine or on campus that it was really cool, you can always come back and look at the entire video. It's automatically posted online. I'll tell you about that later. So in the chat, just be nice, share. It's not OU official because I don't want it to be. I don't want someone to take it over from me or take it over from us. I just want it to be as casual as possible and me be able to answer all of your questions. But it actually is, in some ways, OU official because I'm doing it through OU channels and AME channels. So we'll try to represent the university as good as we can at all times. And so here's what I think it's mostly all about. Most of the people, when I asked them in the survey, what do you want to know about? A lot of people said, yeah, I'd like to know how, to improve my resume. Some people said, I'd like to know how to interview better. But the overwhelming majority of people said they'd like to know how to create a design portfolio, whether it's printed or it's online. And so that's what most of today is actually going to be about. Just checking back over here to be sure everything's going okay. I usually won't have PowerPoint open full screen. This is just, again, introductory stuff. And so this summer I've created my own portfolio just of things I've worked on over the summer. And since my master's is in vehicle design, I've done a whole bunch of small projects in vehicle design, plus a couple side projects for the company I work for. And so anything you design, anything you sketch, any analysis that you do, anything you put into Microsoft Excel, I think can be put into your design portfolio. And here's kind of what mine looks like. And I'll turn my webcam back on in a second and you'll be able to actually take a physical look at this thing. But mine is about 20 pages, 22 pages, and it has a table of contents and all that kinds of stuff. I have a very simple cover, have a couple full-size renderings of things that I've made, and even a little introductory blurb that says, I'm an aerospace engineer and I like making things look cool. Please enjoy this, and all the work has been approved for use by the companies that I've worked for, people that I've done work with, and I kind of signed it just to make myself stand out. I know sometimes it's not the easiest thing to do as an engineer to try to make yourself stand out, be loud, but when you're trying to get a job, this absolutely works, and it hits a recruiter or an interviewer, an HR person. It just hits them in the face, and it's so different from anything they've ever seen. Here are a few other pages. I've got some drawings that I've done in the past. An enclosure design just that holds some electronic equipment on the inside. I also did the design of the stuff on the inside, but it's proprietary, so I couldn't actually show it. This aircraft on the right is something I'm currently working on. It's something I've taken from a napkin sketch all the way through the first set of analysis up through a 3D CAD model. It's essentially empty on the inside, but I'll be able to test the aerodynamics with a CFD package because of the model that I have. And then a few other pages on the left, the HARP, a lot of you have seen that. I've been working on this aircraft for 2 years. In the middle, it's a heat sink. It's actually out in the world right now. And a battery charge controller for either solar or wind power. And then the green tricycle. Addison would be familiar with the green tricycle. And so I've put some of those renderings in there. again, anything you've rendered, anything you've touched, anything you've designed in SolidWorks is yeah, there you go, is a good place to start. It doesn't matter if it was completely finished or not. As a matter of fact, you can fool a lot of people into thinking something super cool just by making it look super nice, whether you're done with the design or not. So I take that side of things, and I just try to make them look as presentable as possible. So with your design portfolio, I think before the end of the semester, we could easily aim for 10 pages. Everyone can have 10 pages. Some can be, some of the pages could be rendering, some can be drawings, some can be analysis. And so the content that I think is great to be able to throw in there are SolidWorks parts, and we'll get them rendered real nice. In future versions of this, we'll actually do real examples where I'll open up SolidWorks and show you what buttons to press and how I put things together step by step. And we'll do parts, assemblies, and drawings, so that your future employer, whoever you show this thing to, will know 100% that you know the process from creating a sketch all the way through making an assembly and making a well-dimensioned drawing that a machinist could be proud of and make this part no problem. We'll do a bit of SolidWorks analysis, and this is going to be kind of light. If you're a SolidWorks champion or an ANSYS wizard, you'll have no issues doing this. But a lot of people aren't, and they aren't even sure what they don't even know that FEA and CFD and motion analysis could be done directly in SolidWorks. A lot of people bash SolidWorks as it's not the most accurate or manipulable thing, and that's true. It's got a lot of downfalls. But for the analysis that we do in school, I think it's plenty accurate, and it gets you pointed in the right direction. If you want to open Abacus and program something up yourself to do CFD, then fine. But SolidWorks will get you very close to where you need to be, especially as an entry-level engineer. People are going to be blown away when they know you can do some modeling and some analysis. Writing samples, any of your reports from any class, solid mechanics, fluid mechanics, aerodynamics lab, or wind tunnel lab, whatever it comes from. Anything that's technical, maybe with some graphs and some charts, would be great to add as a writing sample. And photos, if you've actually built something, then by all means throw a photo into the design portfolio. Some of the tools that we're going to use, and these are the main ones: SolidWorks, Microsoft Word. I've added Illustrator in there, so that's Adobe Illustrator. I've seen that the lab computers on campus now have Adobe programs, so I can show you guys beginning steps there, but you can march down that path on your own as well. PhotoView 360, which is a plugin to SolidWorks, just makes everything look cool. It does real view rendering, ray traced rendering, so it does accurate lighting, reflections, everything that you could imagine, refraction. It will render some beautiful things from SolidWorks. And we can use MATLAB to code some stuff up and just copy the code and paste it directly into your design portfolio. Whether it makes sense, whether the code actually runs or not, is almost irrelevant. It just looks really cool to an interviewer when they ask if you can use some of those programs. So those are going to be the main tools. And then we can talk about the platform. Of course, we're on YouTube Live right now, and that's Google Hangouts is transitioning into YouTube Live. I'm open to suggestions, and if you want to email me or comment on a better version of this, then please feel free to do so. Of course, it's got to be free unless you're paying for it. But I found that I got into this YouTube Live today, and it's not terrible. There are things that I think it can do better. I use a program called Team Viewer. It's always running on my system, and there's a client that you can download for Team Viewer that makes something like this a little bit easier. So we can transition into Team Viewer if people need it, but YouTube Live seems to be working pretty well. And to the people who are looking at the stream on YouTube directly, the ones that aren't in the Hangout, feel free to send me an email and say, well, hey, I know this cool program that we can use that might make this a little bit easier. I've heard about GoToMeeting, so we could also give that a try. I don't want to make it too complex, but YouTube Live seems to be doing a pretty decent job right now. In terms of time, again, this is on my time. I don't get paid for this. I'm not a TA for this. I thought to myself, well, my longest days are Tuesdays and Thursdays. I might as well keep going on a Thursday. And so it ended up, Thursday, 6:30, and people took a vote, and it seems as if that time might work well. We can shift it around. We can have more. We can have, I can essentially do 2 days. Someone can help me out, and we can run 2 sessions or 2 half-hour sessions, and that'll be fine. In the future, I think I'm going to continue doing a similar thing where I send out a link and just remind people a couple hours before the thing actually starts. If you want to add it to your calendar, that's great. But the link changes all the time. And so I need to find a cool way to Okay, hopefully this is back up. I just had a power outage at my apartment. No idea what that was about. Will someone let me know if it's back? The internet seemed to, okay, perfect. Cool, yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out what happened. Hopefully I don't need to buy a generator just to do this every week. That's the first time power's gone out, and I've lived here a year and a half. But of course it chose today to go. Blah, 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 blah. Now, what was the very last thing I said? I'm almost at the end of that presentation, but I probably was going through the platform or something. Okay, platform, share screen, entire screen, share. Okay, how about I just do, we'll just do this. Okay, so yeah, so if you have a different thing, then please suggest it to me. And 6:30 on Thursday seems to work well for a lot of people, so I'm going to keep it around that time. We can have more, we can have less. In the future access, I'm going to email like I did, and maybe we can find a better way to actually share the link. I may just set up an automatic email every week. So here are some of the topics that we can talk about and will talk about. I'm just kind of doing a double take here. Some of the topics that we can talk about are as follows. Gosh, let's figure that out. So SolidWorks, of course, I can give anyone SolidWorks help if you've got something that you're creating in SolidWorks or that you want to create in SolidWorks. As long as you give me a plan or come see me or something like that, I can go through it. But what's more than that is in the sense of creating a design portfolio, I'm reaching out right now to people in industry, so all the oil guys and some machinists, and asking them for parts and drawings of parts. And so we can have some actual real parts, you know, pumps and pump holders and jacks and beams that do all kinds of stuff that we can actually design for real and analyze for real. Of course, not for any money or not for any fame, but just things that we can do together so that we can put them into a portfolio. Sketches, we're going to talk about sketches a whole lot. I sketch a whole lot. If you can't sketch, that's absolutely fine. I'm sure you can get there if you tried. And I'm not talking about making something that you can sell. I'm just talking about doodling random things on a sheet of paper so that you can convey a message without taking it all the way into 3D. And the more you practice this, the better it's going to be for you. But we can do a lot of sketches, and sketches do make their way into the design portfolio. So I'll show you an example of that here in, a little bit later. The design process, Dr. Chang and I talk about this all the time, what it means to actually design something from the ground up. And so Jack would know this with Race Team. Even though every year you're making a car, there's still a process that you have to go through from the bottom up to figure out how all of these parts are going to come together, what kind of analysis you need to do. And this isn't going to be super heavy on analysis, but it'll give you a sense of what you may have to do to analyze some small component. Maybe as I look around the room right now, maybe do the analysis on this lamp that I have standing here, and I put a bowl of cereal on the top of it. Can it actually withstand the force of a bowl of cereal? So you got to be able to think like that and sketch that idea out and design it from the bottom all the way up to the top. Engineering challenges. I've already gotten a lot of people in industry who are interested in just either coming here to my apartment or meeting me on campus and dishing out engineering challenges. Now, the biggest thing I'm trying to do is talk them into making them paid, or making some kind of arrangement where they give you a challenge and the winner of said challenge gets some kind of perk, whether it's lunch on the company, think Boeing, or think Devon, or think any of these, Valero. If they say, hey, we're going to get $50 to the student who completes this engineering challenge, and it will be a design challenge. You know, hey, we have this pump, it needs to fit in this space, here are the dimensions, and we need something to hold it in place this high off the ground, and be able to withstand you know, 1,000,000 cycles for 20 years, and give us a full design of this holder and an analysis, and then put something together in a package, and then whoever wins that challenge wins something. I can't promise that that's going to happen, but I can surely make it work in such a way that we get those challenges. And so if you know people out in industry who would be willing to help us out with some of those challenges, and please approach me. But I do know a whole bunch of people, and I just have to get this platform going. And I think that'll be really fun. Prototyping, I've got access to a whole bunch of 3D printers, so we can talk about what it means to rapid prototype things. Dr. Chang and I have been working on this for a very long time. And so if we design something and you want to prototype it, I think everyone should have the chance to at least 3D print one of the things that they've designed while they're at OU, just as a proof of concept. So we'll make that happen. Jobs. If you saw me at the career fair, that was the thing I was yelling the entire time, just the word jobs. And I wanted to know if everyone was getting jobs, because, I mean, let's be honest, that's the big thing. I'm completely tired of being broke. I am so poor that it hurts as a grad student. I can hardly pay my rent, but when I get a job, that all ends, as you know. So the career fair was a huge eye-opener for a lot of people, and I really hope a lot of you who are listening and looking got a fair share out of the career fair. And again, we'll just be talking to industry professionals, getting some tips from them. You can ask them questions. Recruiters and engineers alike. I know all of them, so we'll be able to talk to some of them. But design portfolio creation is by far the biggest topic. And doing little things that make you so much more attractive to an employer, just off the bat. I hardly ever print out resumes anymore. I just walk around with my design portfolio because I want a design job. And all of our resumes look exactly the same. The exact same education, a couple internships, maybe you worked at a bank at some point, and then a couple awards. And then SolidWorks, CATIA, ANSYS, MATLAB, whether you know how to use all of them or not, we all look exactly the same on paper. And so a design portfolio can definitely help you stand out. And at least that's what I think. That's what helped me in the past, in the past career fair. So we're going to talk about you as well, your results from the survey. You can introduce yourselves later on. If you've got any special skills, machining skills, or if you know how to use Inventor really well, bring it up, and then maybe I can bring you here in the spotlight and we can get your take on things and have people ask you things. Social butterflyism. I like having friends, and I love being a social butterfly. So if you want to be my friend, then by all means, this is a great way to do so. And be able to interact with me whenever the chance arises. And then you can just, you know, randomly make me dinner sometime because, again, I'm poor and I don't have a job yet. So that works out really well. Improving your online presence. And by online presence, I really mean LinkedIn and creating a portfolio somewhere. You can actually store your portfolio on LinkedIn. That's actually a great place to put your design portfolio. Your involvement in teams, you know, the off-road team, Sooner Rover team, the rocket team, the race team, SRT, any of the clubs that you want to join, AIAA, the ASME group, I can give you information about just about all of them. So we can do that. And then how can I support you in your quest to do things? How can we get you to the point that you want to be with the resources that we have? So that's going to be all about you. So over on the left, what time? See, 6:30 and 7:30 works really well, and a lot of people said they were flexible. Tuesday or Thursday, most people said Thursday. Engineering students, juniors and seniors will get the most out of this, but everyone's open to join. The dog thing was just to be sure that you were a human. And so the highest, most results were Golden Retriever, German Shepherd, and Corgi. So question and answers. Does anyone have any questions before I actually just kind of pull out a couple things and show you some other cool stuff. And by cool stuff, I just mean the design portfolio that we're eventually going to create. And then I want to run through a quick example as to how you get from simple analysis to a cool design portfolio. And it'll take just like 5 minutes. Anyone have anything to ask? And again, people on YouTube, I'm sorry that you can't directly ask me. A lot of you have been emailing me, and I'm trying to keep up, but I'm doing a horrible job right now. Yeah, someone emailed me and asked if I could hold up an example of my design portfolio. Yes. Addison, Jack, and Mr. Wynn, do you guys have any questions directly? Nah, no one. Okay. So real quick into the meat of things. This is what my resume looks like, by the way. Name, just like yours. Education, essentially just like yours. Experience, I've got a bunch of experience, but again, it's all internships and co-ops, pretty much just like all of yours. Skills, you know, it all says CATIA and CAD and all those familiar words, engineering, MATLAB, optimization, all that kinds of stuff. And then I've got some awards that I've gotten through the years, and so I've listed those. But my resume looks exactly like everyone else's. So I did walk around with that at the career fair, but what I did also walk around with was my handy dandy design portfolio. And I really wish I could somehow flip. Probably should have thought about that at some point. If I do the drawing thing, it flips it around. But yeah, so design portfolio. And so this is what mine looks like. It was printed by a company called Blurb. It's blurb.com. It was actually really cheap. Blurb has a whole bunch of coupons floating around online as well. So it's glossy on the front. There's no ring bounding. It's actually like magazine print. So there's our front, and there's our back. The back of mine just says, you know, this is the end. Here's my address. This is how to contact me. Because ideally, if you're communicating with a recruiter or a HR manager or engineering manager, you may want to slap one of these into an envelope and mail it directly to them, you know, with a thank you note or with your resume. If you've applied for a job and you have direct communication with an HR manager, you send this directly in with your resume. It's you representing yourself. It's an entire package of everything that you're capable of. And so this is essentially stuff that I've perfected over just the summer of 2016. But certainly you can have things from all years of your engineering career. On the inside, I start off with a quick table of content, and the design is pretty much the same through the entire book. There's not very much that changes. I use the same fonts. I use essentially the same colors for text and everything. And you know, at the bottom there again, there's a representation of where I live. And all of you are welcome to come visit me at any time. I've got a large TV, and I'm building myself a flight simulator, so you might want to come check that out. First page, well, second page, page number 2, I guess I call this, is a quick intro to my design portfolio. And I just say, you know, I'm an aerospace engineer, and I love dealing with people, and I love things that look nice. Please enjoy this collection of work. And I've signed it to be super classy. But as we flip through here, you know, I've got cool renderings, you know, blade stop tool, and all of these things are actually in production right now. They're actually being used on various wind turbines around the world. So that's a cool perk, but at the same time, I never say that in my design portfolio. I'm just showing off right now because I'm talking to you guys. Everyone would think this is just a college assignment. And if this is the kind of work that we can get you to put out there as a college assignment, recruiters will be unbelievably impressed, especially if you want to be a design engineer or going to mechanical design. And so huge rendering, there's no text on that page. It's just a picture because it's cool. That's just an adapter that I created for a turbine, so we could sell that. But what's cool about this design is I have a huge picture of it here, but you flip the page and then I have clown puke, which I call FEA results clown puke because the colors are obviously crazy, but I have a finite element analysis of that adapter the page is super shiny, which is nice because it feels really good in the hands. It feels better than just printing on regular paper. I'm gonna come out of drawing mode. It'll be flipped backward, I'm sorry, but hopefully, let's flip that on. Let me flip this off. Hopefully this is a little bit better. And so I've gone through an analysis, and not a huge write-up. I haven't told them where it would fail, even though it's not failing. I haven't told them anything that I didn't have to tell them. But I just said, we analyzed it, it looks good, this is how we did it, we had some boundary conditions, blah, 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 and we're good to go. I did the same thing with a steel bench that I was creating for someone. Let's see. Control room. If I use this thing, it flips it back around, and I can actually draw on things. So I think that's pretty cool. The green tricycle, Addison will know a whole bunch about that and what we went through to create the green tricycle. We have one of the older designs down there, but just some cool renderings of the tricycles. And you note that you can see shadows and you can see reflections, and there's glass on there that's rendered correctly. This is not just a screenshot out of SolidWorks. This actually has depth of field and all kinds of reflections coming from all over the place. And so it just looks super cool. So that made it into my design portfolio. Yeah, so again, we're not going to flip through the entire thing, but heatsink. I did a whole bunch of analysis on this heatsink because it eventually made it out into industry. And so I use that in my design portfolio. But there's nothing saying that you and I, can't sit in SolidWorks and design our own random heatsink for something, the back of a television, or a heatsink that will just be slapped somewhere for fun. No one has to know where this thing ends up. They just have to know that it was created. Harp stuff. And so mine's about 20 pages. My aircraft designs. Those are huge renderings. They were all rendered. This was all rendered in SolidWorks. The background, everything. The background's an image. The aircraft's a solid model, and it was all rendered in SolidWorks. I even put the little napkin sketch that I started for this particular aircraft on there just to be cool. Heatsink stuff, wind turbine stuff, but most importantly, drawings. This right here, drawings are so easy to do, and a lot of us don't actually know how to do them and do them correctly. But as a manufacturing engineer or mechanical engineer, a systems engineer, drawings will become your life. And so I can show some people how to do drawings if you don't know how to do drawings in SolidWorks, and how to dimension stuff. But again, more drawings. And the more crap you put on there, the more impressive it looks. Weld symbols and tap dimensions and notes and charts and figures. Again, it doesn't have to make any sense. It has to be functional, of course. I need to be able to hand this to a machinist and have him make it. But for the most part, it could be all notional. Sketches. I am crazy about sketching. I draw all day, every single day. I draw something new. I draw something every day. I draw one thing every single day. So whether it's an aircraft or new designs for wind turbines or a scene somewhere in the middle of the woods in Montana or Minnesota, I have no idea, you just sketch. And so these are things I sketched over the summer, and I just decided to throw them in there. I was able to scan some of them from paper, and some of them I actually sketched on my tablet. That made things a lot easier. On the back again, just address. And thanks to a whole bunch of people, including my now ex-girlfriend, but she still gets thanked, which is okay. I don't have the heart to take it off. So that is eventually what we're going to go for. We're going to create that. And just real quick before we wrap things up, I'm going to pull up an example of how we can do that. I've designed all of that in Adobe Illustrator, which is not the easiest tool to use unless you're trained, but we all know how to use Microsoft Word. And so I'll bring up an example of what I've done today. It took me about 10 minutes to get everything done, less than 10 minutes to get everything done in Microsoft Word. And so I'll share the screen, share the entire screen, hop over here. And so we all know this example. I really wish I could turn that off. Really wish I knew how to turn most of this off. But anyways, we all know this example, and this is just a cantilevered beam being loaded in some direction. I've got a force in the sketch pointing down. I've got the load pointing up. So not the most accurate representation, but this was laid out in Word, Microsoft Word, in a matter of minutes. And so the spiel here goes, this 6x1 by 6 inch copper bar was designed to hold a load of 20 pounds. Without this bar, Lockheed Martin F-35 JSF cannot fly. We evaluated the bar and the passing results are shown. Hopefully a Joint Strike Fighter will begin service sometime soon. And so we've got sketch, because we're engineers and we're trying to figure out the best way to approach this situation, figure out our boundary conditions. We've got analysis, we've made the bar, we've pinned it on one end, we're applying a force on the other end. We show the clown puke, so we show where the maximum stress is right there at the cantilever, the fixed end, which we all expect. You can almost see the appearance of a neutral axis right there down the middle, no stress on the end. And we can see what our yield strength is. So right away, we know this thing is not failing under these circumstances. But I also put a really nice rendering of this copper bar. It has reflections and shadows and all kinds of cool stuff. And the way I've exported this, and we'll do this starting next week, the way I've rendered this out, you can move it in front of any element and just have it be completely transparent. In the background, so we can position it in cool ways. We can overlap stuff and make things look kind of cool and have people question how we did what we did. So that's an example of what we're going to go for. And so there's really not much difference between this layout right here and the design portfolio that I've made. Mine has very similar items: a title, a quick spiel, some analysis that I did. I didn't even show the results. No one needs to know. They just need to know I can complete the analysis. It'll spit out the numbers just fine. And then a little title box to hold the words that I've put on the page. And all of my pages look very, very similar. So this class will come down to getting the opportunity to make cool stuff, just cool parts. And again, we're not going to make a copper block. I just did this as an example. But we'll make something cool. We will render it out. We'll add camera views. We'll add lights. We will add reflections and shadows. Then we'll dump them all into Microsoft Word or Adobe Illustrator as it may, and then eventually push you out a design portfolio that you can mail along with your resume. And so that's all I've got in terms of speaking. Again, this was just a quick test of all the systems. I think I got up to 15 people who are just viewing it on YouTube. Certainly, we need to figure out how to get them into the chat room. And so, thank you guys for listening. I'm going to sit here. If you have any questions, if you want to see anything in particular from the design portfolio, if you want me to do something right now on the screen, like open up SolidWorks and walk through how I did what I did, or ask questions about design, feel free to do so right now. I'm just going to sit here and wait for a little while. by the way, if you're wondering, my cereal bowl is now empty. It was a lovely dinner. I really should make myself something more substantial than that, but I haven't had the chance to just yet. I'm getting, okay, what would be the best place? Someone's asking, hang on, Addison. Someone's asking via email, what's the best place to store their portfolio online? There are lots of different free websites that you can use. OU actually has a thing called create.ou.edu, and they allow you to make your own website. And we can actually do some of that to teach you how to use WordPress or something to create a cool website and be able to host your stuff online. I have my stuff on a WordPress site, my own personal site, my LinkedIn, somewhere on my Facebook, I'm sure. And so anywhere that you want to post would be just fine. And yeah, so that's a SR-71, like Jack's showing you right there. It's actually my favorite airplane. So this is my summer project. It's actually just printed out sheets of paper. These are 13 inches by 19 inches wide. And I stuck them to poster board and then stuck them to the wall in that orientation. And I used Adobe Illustrator to make them and my printer to print them out. So, you know, a cool $25 project. And I'm gonna change it out for a different airplane in a couple of weeks. I'm an airplane guy. I've always been an airplane guy. Not defense specifically, but mostly general aviation. I've gotten another email. Can you show us your flight simulator? Yes. Here is what my sim looks like right now. Yoke, control panel, 2 iPads as displays, rudder pedals down there. I've got a throttle quadrant over there, but and then push buttons for different aircraft operations right here. I've got cutout so I can add a clock here. The clock exists, it's somewhere. So the clock will eventually go in there. This is an actual clock out of a Piper Cherokee, so I'm gonna throw that behind there somehow. And then down here, just cutouts for extra stuff that I haven't figured out yet. So eventually I'm gonna put that in there. It's aluminum, it's 32 aluminum panel that I had Mike Black at Jet Black Machining punch out and press and fold for me. And so yeah, everything was designed in SolidWorks, and I just started putting it together. And so the TV is my screen. I eventually want to go back to a projector, but yeah, so that's what she looks like. That's the control systems back here in Arduino that essentially controls all those buttons. It's a little bit messy. You can see the iPads back. See the iPads back there. I haven't done any cable management because it's still very much a prototype. I have a second one of these. It's slightly larger that I'm building at the moment for a guy in Moore who's very serious about his flight simulators. And so that's my project when I get home. When I'm not doing homework. I don't do very much homework. I cram and procrastinate just like anyone else. Okay, to the guys in the chat, you guys got anything else, or you're good? Sweet. Yeah, people have been emailing because they don't have access to the chat room, but I think Dr. Chang is going to have his students, no, Dr. Sadiq is going to have all of his students involved in this thing next week. And then next week, I'm going to have specific examples that we're going to go through from start to finish. some people don't have access to SolidWorks just yet, so I'm going to have to talk to Dr. Chang and then give you guys the word as to how to go get SolidWorks from OUIT or something. And then you should all have Microsoft Word, and we'll be ready to roll, ready to start next week fresh. So if that's it, if no one else has any questions, I think this was a great test. I'll be reporting success on this test to Dr. Sadiq and Dr. Alton, and we'll see how it turns out. Look out for the link to participate again next week. I think we'll be right back here on Google Hangouts, and with specific examples. Not me speaking very much, just examples, and just working a project from start to finish and showing you how that comes together. I think we're going to have a whole bunch of fun doing it. Thanks again for logging in. I'm going to go find something to eat now, and you guys can email me if you need anything else. Have a good evening.